4 years ago, Deborah Horn decided that it was finally time to leave her husband. After years of abuse, she was worried that next time he might kill her and leave her 3 sons without a mother.
It was very confusing, and most of it was directed towards me, but the children were used very heavily in the abuse, and that's often the case. The children get used. And for me, it came down to a point where I felt like I was going to die.
With the help of family, friends, and community domestic violence agencies, Deborah made it out of her marriage alive.
I am safe. I maintain a safety plan, and that's pretty much what you have to do. You don't really have the choice to just move off to another land and everything's fine. No matter what you do, if you've been in a situation like this, you have to learn to safety plan. You have to learn to take the actions that you can to keep yourself as safe as possible. I've found that it's become empowering for me to be able to try to enact change in the community. And when I met Captain Millsap, he invited me to become a member of the task force.
In October of 2012, we recognized that we'd had a significant increase in aggravated assaults, which are the serious assaults. When we started to really dig down on those numbers, we found out that that was caused mainly by domestic assaults. So we put together a bifurcated approach, a domestic violence task force with community members. That included the Victim Center, the prosecutor's office, Harmony House, people from the medical field, and then really an inward look at what we could do in the police department to do things differently in investigating domestic assaults.
Dan Patterson, who's my boss, the elected prosecutor, has always had a commitment to combating domestic violence. It's an important issue in the community, it's an important issue in our office, and it's something we take really seriously because it's pervasive here and everywhere else.
It's a community problem. We all play roles. I wasn't just this one woman that didn't have friends, family, church members. All of these people in my life that were also affected by the abuse that was going on. And that doesn't even account for my children, the school that they go to. Everyone that's involved in our lives has somehow been affected by a domestic violence situation.
One result of the task force's work is the employment of a new tool in the battle against domestic violence, the lethality assessment.
But we're really one of the few that are actually using the 11-question assessment that helps a victim determine the lethality of their situation.
Ever since the police department started doing the lethality risk assessment, that allowed a collaboration between the two entities, between the Victim Center and the police department, like it hadn't really existed before, though we always had a good relationship.
The top 3 questions, if a victim answers yes to either one of those questions, we immediately try to put them in touch with a victim advocate, because that tells us that their situation has some potential to become a lethal situation, basically a homicide. Somebody's going to get killed.
What if someone had asked me those questions when that was going on? And the truth is, I would have been faced with the situation I was in. It's very difficult when it's just you and your abuser and they're trying to define reality for you and you're trying to survive and you're trying to be okay. And when you have a police officer standing there asking you, are you safe? Does he have a weapon? Has he threatened you with a weapon? And he has. But later he would make an excuse, he would make some explanation, and you would tell yourself it's not that bad.
Another product of the Family Violence Task Force is the Stop the Violence Conference, held annually during Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October.
One of the things that we did on the side of engaging the community was bring a lot of people to the table that are involved in victim advocacy. We brought victims together. We brought the prosecutor and the police department all at the same table to discuss this issue. And out of that became our first Stop the Violence conference and training session.
And you know, a lot of times I've heard people talk about domestic violence victims lying because they're trying to cover up the abuse. Even if you say, no, he hasn't ever threatened me with a weapon, he hasn't ever threatened my children, it's still going to be in their mind. Wait, that police officer said that's a danger sign. And those steps towards awareness, I think, will in the future help that woman to recognize how dangerous her situation is. So even if she doesn't leave today, you're planting a seed.
Has he ever used a weapon against you or threatened to use a weapon against you?
Has he ever threatened to kill you or your children?
Do you think he might try to kill you?
Does he have a gun or have one that he can access easily?
Has he ever tried to strangle you?
Is he violently or consistently jealous of you or others?
Have you left him or separated after living together or being married?
Is he unemployed?
Has he ever tried to kill himself?
Do you have a child that he knows is not his?
Does he follow or spy on you or leave threatening messages?